Another part of Saturn and Pisces and this retrograde is getting in tune with your shadow. But because it's Saturn, it's about disciplining your shadow or allowing your shadow to find the necessary expression. But this is where it gets tricky here. And I more so attract these type of people to help and work with in regards to shadow work. If you are a person that is overly committed to a thing or people, let's just say like your family or your friends or your job, right? Let's say you take pride in that. Like, I'm committed to them. I'm always there or reliable, all of that. Part of the shadow of that type of individual is selfishness. So the person isn't broadcasting selfishness. They're actually overextending themselves. The reality is that they're likely overextending themselves as a form of self-sabotage. So the shadow becomes like, man, I want to do things for me, but I feel I have to do these things for others. And embracing your shadow in a healthy way is going through a period in which you're telling others, no, or I can't do this, or I don't want to do this.
The game is fucked. Niggas is faking these ghost schemes. There's more bread and cold cred than chasing these low dreams. This my year, Jupiter flowing through the sign, feeling like Black Star. I got no fear of time. I'm on a published plateau, already got them dollars. I see angelic imposters, spiritual bottom feeding. Can't box with the god is Mike Tyson. These fakes more Jake Paul. It's almost fight night.
What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be breaking down the upcoming Saturn retrograde occurring here in Pisces and seeing what you got to look out for and how to take advantage of it. So, let's get into it. Before I get all the way into it, I want to remind you guys that I have wonderful deals going if you are in need of a reading. I would love for you to check out my project, Sun of Gemini 2, that I've created a bundle with my book, Astrology of the Matrix. You can get both of them for a special price and then get a discount on a reading just for you guys, my lovely supporters. So take advantage of that. Saturn will be going retrograde from June 30th until November 15th. This is a good chunk of time. It's going to take us through the summer and well into the fall. Retrogrades are times in which the energy is turned inward. But I find that like outer planets like Saturn or Jupiter, Uranus, all of that, we always have to keep in mind that these are like transpersonal planets. So during retrograde periods, we are definitely focusing that energy on ourselves of reflection, refinement, redoing, reanalyzing. All of that is all things we want to be doing during retrograde, particularly Saturn retrograde. But with the transpersonal planets, you'll definitely want to pay a close eye to the mirror of the as above, so below, right? How is this energy being mirrored on a microcosmic level via you, the individual, your life, people around you? And how is this occurring on a bigger level? Remember, like, life is projection. And Pisces in the 12th house really ramps that up in the sense of it reflects to you parts of yourself, or at times truth, or even illusion, right? But it's when you focus your vision to see what's what. So we should start here by really reviewing what Saturn and Pisces is all about. That's the important thing. Understanding what Saturn and Pisces is about and what it means for you, and then spending this retrograde period making sure you're tying up those loose ends, or at minimum, embracing the lesson in some capacity. understanding it, embracing it, all of that. So what is Saturn and Pisces all about? Well, one of the things that this transit is going to seek to do is to free everyone of their particular karmic loops. The interesting thing here is that based on who you are, where you are in your life, you will be dealing with a particular karmic loop. And I want to address this like to the younger people who are in the spirit early in their 20s, far from their Saturn return, but shit is getting real for you as well. Those karmic loops could have been inherited from like childhood, as well as if you're a 12th house person, part of the things that you signed on to balance within your family structure and all of that. If you're someone who's in your Saturn return or older than that, you have a lot more understanding of what to work with. So a big thing that I feel coming through in terms of this retrograde is acknowledging the truth. And I think this is vast, but acknowledging the truth is like, what do you really struggle with? What embarrasses you? What about yourself or your situation embarrasses you? What have you repressed? What do you push in the closet? Oh, I'll deal with that later. All of this is Saturn and Pisces, and it's saying like the time is now. The end result of dealing with this is simply going to be a raise in your spiritual vibration, an acceleration of your spiritual path. These are the transits that really propel us, because Pisces deals with disillusionment, and disillusionment was like, yo, at one time, I believed so greatly in this thing, this concept, this ideal. And then over time, it eroded, it dissipated, it wasn't the same. But what happens when it's not the same, you can view it more objectively. So you come into more truth. So I'm very much so urging you, like a person like myself, I've always been able to be my own critic, okay? Or tell myself what's not acceptable, or holding oneself accountable. If you can stay within the realm of knowing what you need to break free of, what you need to improve, you're on the right path. And I also got to like throw this out there, guys. Healing is uncomfortable. In order to actually heal, you have to do things that are uncomfortable, that are fearful. That's like part of the healing journey. So I just feel like the world we live in, where based on your background, you may unconsciously expect things like healing to be a simple process, or identify your healing with favorable experiences, where that's not it. So another part of Saturn and Pisces and this retrograde is getting in tune with your shadow. But because it's Saturn, it's about disciplining your shadow, or allowing your shadow to find the necessary expression. But this is where it gets tricky here. And I more so attract these type of people to help and work with in regards to shadow work. If you are a person that is overly committed to a thing or people, let's just say like your family or your friends or your job, right? Let's say you take pride in that. Like, I'm committed to them, I'm always there, or reliable, all of that. Part of the shadow of that type of individual is selfishness. So the person isn't broadcasting selfishness. They're actually overextending themselves. The reality is that they're likely overextending themselves as a form of self-sabotage, So the shadow becomes that like, man, I want to do things for me, but I feel I have to do these things for others. And embracing your shadow in a healthy way is going through a period in which you're telling others, no, or I can't do this, or I don't want to do this. Okay? So to make understanding your shadow a little bit more clear, I like to look at it like this. The shadow is the part of ourselves that we recognize is there, but we say, oh, this is unfavorable. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. I don't want to project this quality. I don't want that associated with me. So it gets repressed, but it's there. Exercising the shadow is becoming comfortable or confident in expressing that particular energy. Another example I can give is like with anger. Remember, Mars rules the first house. Mars corresponds to like Aries. So it's more than just anger, but it's willpower, it's drive, all of that. A person who doesn't, and I have Mars in the 12th. I have Mars in the 12th. So I acknowledge through lifetimes, I don't want to be seen as an angry guy. Like, oh no, people who get mad and have temper tantrums, they're annoying, right? But in actuality, the first house, Mars in the first, the Martian instinct is very much so needed to navigate through life. And at times you're gonna have to compete. You're gonna have to defend. You're gonna have to act like a bitch or act like a ruffian, whatever. But you can't shy away from never expressing the quality because you deem that to not be favorable. A person like myself or anybody else who has Mars in the 12th, when you're in healthy expression of this energy, you're in complete control of, should I express this anger or this Martian force right now, or should I just let this go? And that falls in line with like the archetype of the peaceful warrior, the samurai, understanding your force, understanding your capabilities, but being discerning on how to use them. But let me reiterate, if a person chooses to never, that energy then comes up in one's life as abrupt happenings, arguments, attracting people who are hot-headed and openly angry, things of that nature. So bringing this back to Saturn and Pisces in this upcoming retrograde, if you have not gotten in tune with your shadow, you should spend a good amount of time getting to understand it and finding ways to express it in a healthy manner. The other side of shadow work is like understanding the more subtle parts. So I'll give it like a quick example of like someone with like Cancer in the 12. You could, for a certain person, you may not show others how emotional you actually are. You may disassociate with the need to have a certain layer of emotional expression. Okay, so therefore, part of your shadow work and its expression is learning how to feel more and being okay with feeling more. All right. So continuing with this idea, Saturn here in Pisces retrograde is about disciplining the shadow, understanding it in its various different ways. Another theme with these energies is about greater belief or understanding of your purpose in life, or even the purpose behind doing particular things. Okay. So Saturn, of course, is corresponding to like work and being an authority. So one of the things here with Pisces, particularly Neptune and Pisces, the ability to fake it till you make it. And I know this well because I listen and I observe. Because of the internet, there are many people who had, let's say, viral moments, which they may have chose to therefore continue to wear this ego. So let's just hypothetically say a person on TikTok gets a little buzz for talking about astrology. Naturally, the audience is like, oh, they must be an astrologer. Hey, do you do readings? The individual knows within themselves, I am not that. I kind of just was just expressing this video. I didn't expressing this point. I didn't know it was going to do this well. But you have a choice. You can, like I said, start to wear this ego, or you take your time, you cross your T's, you dot your I's, and, ease into it. But I know this, a majority of people are like, well, others think I'm this, so I'm going to play this role. This Saturn retrograde period is like, if you are that type of person that fell into something, but you are deep down unsure of yourself within it, do the work. Like, step away. Don't feel the societal pressure to be something that you may not truly be, or you haven't put the work in to become. So this comes back to this idea of accepting the truth, or focusing on truth. Jupiter's in Gemini. The things you may have, like, we were able to skip steps. So things in which you may not have learned before, you can come back around and learn them, and you'll have a greater understanding. Because a vision that I see with this, like, transit, is like shape-shifting. Literally the ability to be anything you want, but at the same time, not really being anything, right? Lack of mastery. So within your pursuit of greater truth is going to propel you to go back and put in the work where you may have skipped certain steps before. Don't shy away from this. It's like, in this world of AI continue to expand, it's like the apple of temptation, right? You'll want to resist that temptation to deceive or cut corners. Focus on authenticity, integrity, and the actual work that comes from it. This is how you'll experience real magic during this transit, okay? Another thing I see here is, like, 'cause Pisces is like the deepest waters. And like, when water keeps hitting against rock for time and time again, it takes a long time, but it erodes it. Okay, erosion's a fascinating thing. So we could think of the rock, the solid foundation, as Saturn, and these waves that keep crashing against the rock as Pisces, and all of that. If we're really being real, since Neptune has gone into Pisces, those waves have been smashing against the rock a lot more, and the erosion is a little bit sped up. So what I'm getting at here is that this really is a period in which you're going to want to snatch back your particular faculties that have been overstimulated or affected by Neptunian things. Now, it's a broad spectrum. This could be, from escapism, like with drugs and alcohol, just towards other forms of escapism, like electronics, food, all of that. Take it from somebody who's on their third week with no sugar. And I got to tell you, I've done this before, but just like the realization of, like, how you think differently, it's always just so amazing to me. Because to me, and Uranus and Taurus has taught me, that food and a lot of other worldly things are just luxuries. They're not necessities. We don't actually need them. So like I said, I've taken this time to free myself from certain stimulus and already feeling the effects. The reason I brought up the erosion is that I think for many people who have been in these karmic loops or things that have long and drawn out, you probably have started to see the erosion. Like, for a person. Maybe you're losing your hair. Okay, maybe you've gained weight. All these things, but like I said, on a chemical level, men, we got to pay attention to that. Like collectively, our testosterone levels are down. We got to be real about like the way certain things are manufactured and its long-term effects. So this Saturn retrograde period is like, you either honor these particular truths that are available because we're in the age of information, or you treat them like they're illusionary, or you continue to be blind or lost within the illusion. But it's gonna become more difficult to do so. So I think the best thing to do is embrace truth. So in closing, this Saturn retrograde period, it's really meant to work with you more than against you. It's going to work against you when you're just missing the mark. But I feel like the psychic awareness collectively is so increased that, yeah, the writing's going to be on the wall. And I just throw this in there real quick too. At the time of the ingress, the Cancer stellium, squaring the nodes, and this is telling you to tap more into those particular energies, particularly the North Node and Aries, integrating that more along with your spirituality and other things. So this is my interpretation of Saturn retrograde. Feel free to chime in. Let me know what's going on in your world. If you need a reading, check out my website. Till next time, peace.